Hi, good morning, everybody. It's hope everybody is safe and staying home and following the guidelines stated by the regulatory authorities in the country. Uh, so we are here today to talk something different. We want to talk about optimism. We talk about jobs. We want to talk about life in the COVID period. We want to talk about all the positive things which we can do while we have this unique opportunity in our lives to spend home, learn, connect with friends. Uh, so I would first like to thank School of Data Science and Business Intelligence (SDBI) to really host this kind of a session and give us an opportunity to really hear from one of those minds in the industry who's a rare combination of sports, technology, parenthood, love for the country, and then you can go ahead and name as many qualities and use as many metaphors for Shavik. Uh, he gets this unique ability to get concepts to people in simple language and is able to really make them understand and make them passionate about certain topics. And data is surely one of them. So we're going to shortly hear from him. I'm just going to quickly go through for a minute and tell you. So SDBI is a unique initiative where it offers bachelor, master's, and diploma programs in data science and business intelligence. It's a program offered under University of Bombay. So all those students who wish to do it, the unique aspects there is you just need to know math and stat. You could be from arts backgrounds, you could be from humanities, you could be from sciences. Uh, it's a program which is being built by corporates. So the likes of big companies, big industrialists. So you have people from Airbnb, Tata, from KRI. All these guys come together and form the curriculum. And then they have the complete autonomy to keep changing the curriculum based on the tools and the stuff that you need to learn on everyday basis to make yourself employable. So SDBI is doing a great job in trying to build a bridge between companies and academia. It's first such initiative, and so we hope them and we wish them all the best from our end, from my end, uh, and and with further ado, I don't want to be talking too much. So I'll welcome Shavik Da. We call him Shavik Da because he hails from Kolkata. Although Dada is somebody who we normally resonate with Saurav Ganguly, but from a tech lover, I think he's a true Dada for all the techies out there. Uh, he will blow you guys away, I'm sure. So let me welcome Shavik Da. Uh, Good morning, Shavik. Uh, no, Shavik, I think you're not audible. So we just need to get you connected to the. No, you're still not audible, Shavik. So I think your headphones might be connected with the cell phone. So you need to disconnect that and then come back. Not yet, Shavik. I think your headphones are not connected. So you just need to recheck if they are connected to the laptop and not the cell phone. No, I think we still can't hear you, Shavik. So you still need to get back. Yeah. So while we are waiting for Shavik to just reconnect so that we can get his audio back, uh, I'm just going to give you a brief about the topics and what are we going to discuss today. So we're going to talk about the world of data and what data science really means. Then we're going to talk about concepts where what do you mean by data exhaust? what do you mean by data literacy? Uh, yes. Okay. Now we have Sauvik live. Good morning, Sauvik.
Morning, everyone.
Okay. So now we can hear him well. Sauvik, hope all is fine and you're staying home.
Yes, very safe, and at home for a few weeks now.
Okay. So let's just get into it. I think there are a lot of people who want to understand, Sharik, there's so much noise around, data science, big data, artificial intelligence. Everybody wants to do it. What does it really mean? And what do companies like Tata really do with data science? And what does it mean for a common layman to understand these concepts?
So I think one very important point to address first thing is, see, data science has always been part of our day-to-day lives. Earlier, we used to call it data warehousing, data mining. Earlier, we used to call it data brokering. See, business intelligence, management information, business intelligence, but it has always been there. Now, with the emergence of mobile usage in India, where about 1 billion people are using smartphones across all ISPs, um, what I want to share something very interesting, and not share. India's consumption of mobile data is about 11 GB per user per month. So you have 1 billion people, and everybody is using about 9 to 11 GBs based on what the usage is. That is about over 120 GB of data. 120 GB of data. What does that actually mean? 120 GB of data back in the day used to run factories for a year. Now an individual is using 120 GB on a blended rate per user across 1 billion users. So can you imagine the amount of petabytes and exabytes we are going to generate? And when I say usage, it's about everything. It's about you using data on your phones, on your laptops, on your smartphones, on your iPads, on your TV, whichever is connected to the internet. How many people actually make phone calls? Half of the people make calls through WhatsApp and everything. So consumption of data, and of course the emergence of geo, emergence of new data platforms. So there is two ways, where there is structured data and there is unstructured data. So when you have structured data, what do we mean? When we mean by structured data is, you are with your data. So Sauvik Banerjjee, Pratik Gandhi, structured data is his name, email address, phone number, address, healthcare details, a lot of the details of your family. But what is unstructured data? Unstructured data is everything which you have been using for browsing, for social media, any anonymous usage of your data. You're browsing any site, you're reading something. So the line between structured and unstructured is becoming stronger and stronger. The science to understand what is a structured data and what is an unstructured data is primarily today's data science world is. And of course, it has got understanding data, it has got projecting data, and it has got predicting data. And there are various modus operandis operating. So that to me is today's definition of data science.
So Shavik, this is pretty interesting, right? So from a layman, just to give a perspective, our Facebook Live audience comes from all the way from 17 years of age to 45, right? So we want to break this down to as granular level as possible. And so what I hear you saying is that the shift of data is now more like a strategic imperative for a company for its survival, rather than just a marketing tool, which it used to be maybe 5-7 years back. where people just used to do data mining or to do some data intelligence from increasing the sales perspective. Uh, Now I think it runs through the organization. So just throw us some examples and what does this really mean for modern day?
So, um, let me break it down. We are in a crisis situation. A global pandemic is getting arrested. We are fighting. The whole world is fighting. What are we constantly hearing? We are always hearing a numerical value.
Mhm.
Mumbai has crossed 6,000 COVID affected patients. India has crossed 20,000 COVID affected patients. In a country like US, which is 35 crores, one fourth of India in population, it has crossed over 400,000. So, whether it's news channels or we are surfing COVID19.org, we are constantly mining that data in our head. For a youngster, what is he doing? He wakes up in the morning, he picks up
Mhm.
his phone, he has his breakfast, he's constantly looking at data. Today, I have got to finish X number of assignments.
Mhm.
Today, I've got to watch X episodes of Netflix of a series. Today, I have to watch or I have to listen to my new playlist. What is a playlist? Number of songs, numerical value. So everything is data. Also, the good question is data for market intelligence? It was always going to be. It will always remain. Understanding a campaign, predicting a campaign, understanding a market or a target, it is always going to be. And that's one of the ways products will come to the world, to every layman. But to a 17-year-old, the data science is different. If he or she sees that my data, which is primarily TikTok to Facebook to WhatsApp to Instagram, is on one hand. But then again, I have mathematical models, whether it's commerce, arts, or science. I need mathematics. So I'm computing and generating data in that from a formal education perspective. Throughout the day, I am basically being bombarded, all news media, to a youngster. Whether it's cricket, you're talking about data and statistics. Whether it's football, you're talking about data and statistics. So in your social media, there is data, and you are generating data unknowingly and consuming data knowingly. In the kids' formal life, which is education, or his family, or he's exposed to what is the grocery number of grocery items mama and daddy is doing, and predicting my entire weekly shopping. Continuously, he is under a spiral within the data. So he is computing. It's in a very frivolous social way that youngster is computing, formally learning, but primarily he's not being able to get out of the chakra view, which is what is surrounding a youngster. And to be honest, to everyone, none of us are going to get out of this ring fence, and it's a good ring fence. Until you have data, you can't mine, you can't think, you can't create thoughts and segments to how to lead a life or how to do a marketing campaign. So data is going to be part of our lives for a long, long time, for decades and years to come, especially after the advent of internet.
Interesting. And so, I just hear that data is everywhere and that somehow scares me, right? So we've been using and hearing this term called as data exhaust a lot nowadays. And what does this really mean why should users really care about data exhaust?
See, you have a literal meaning of that and you have a philosophical meaning of that. See, the challenge, what I see right now is very interesting. Again, I'm going to share something which is in India's mobile usage. is 55 million terabytes. So exhaust will happen. We cannot keep the country and the citizens, 140 crore people, outside the smart device, which is already crossed a billion, which is 100 crores. Continuously data is getting fed, whatever sorts of data, whether it's your banking data or you pay your electricity bill to consuming fake news. There has to be, and we are continuously wired. From the first thing in the morning, we pick up this. Before we go to bed, we do this. We don't realize the amount of exhaustion we are facing on data because our brains are built to compute continuously. So when we consume, we interpret, some we junk, and some we compute and keep. The challenge is every day, 365 days, every year, it is becoming a kind of a monolith bubble. Exhaust is happening and there's a threshold. So my guidance and everywhere, wherever I say, you have to switch off. The world existed without data and too much consumption of data as well. We do need to switch off. It's extremely important that data is playing a very decision-making driven principles of life. So I look at data, I look at, example, in the COVID situation, I look at data that Mumbai is crossing XYZ. I will not go and do grocery this week. That's a good consumption. I read a review of an X movie and I continuously read the comments about that movie across everything. And I take a decision. So decision tree, consuming data, decision tree, and I am able to do what? I am able to take a decision. I want to go and watch Simba or I don't want to go and watch Simba. I want to go and watch a New Zealand-Bangladesh test match on Star Sports, or I don't want to watch. Not my palate. I would rather watch tennis. Continuously getting data, preferences are getting created, segments are getting created in your head, and we are taking decisions continuously in real time. So yeah, exhaust plays a big part, but the threshold is equally a big part. Continuous exhaust, continuous wiring, and then there is a threshold where you should know what you want to consume.
And so that, so it just sounds that, we should have a place where we just totally put ourselves off the data bandwidth and we should understand what we consume, right? With this new WhatsApp university, today we see 90% of the data just being fake, floating around, people creating all sorts of analysis based on WhatsApp university news, right? So if from somebody from you, what does data literacy really mean, and how should we implement data literacy in a country like India?
So there are some hygienes which I think a lot of people follow and a lot of people don't follow. See, the concept of a WhatsApp university came why? The concept of a WhatsApp university came when fake forwards started to viral and people started to get affected. A very closed individual who we all respect, suddenly you see a fake news that he's died. And that is not in a one-to-one relation. It's one-to-many and many-to-many. So the correlation of data is I get a new fake news death from WhatsApp University. I share it. So it's a one-to-one. One-to-many gets shared. And then many-to-many gets shared. In the mathematical equation, it's getting into a correlated spiral. So what happens then? People believe it. People generally are good people. People believe. They're not always knowledge-driven and people like you and me who are thinking, dissecting, keeping privacy, XYZ. So they don't know what to do. Normal people don't know what to do. So there are some hygienes of data literacy. One, knowing the verification of the data. Is the data correct or not? It's a very simple way to do it. You either trust the news media agency, which the government, which the country has entrusted. Within them, create a segment that I will only trust BBC. I will trust CNN. I will trust XYZ Media of India. And then you play at it, even if they report wrong news. Al Jazeera, BBC, all of them have reported wrong news. But the percentage, whether it's 80% right news and 20% wrong news, to a 5% right news and 90% wrong news. So verification is part of data literacy. Second, what is the authentic in the internet? It's governed. Fair amount of governance is there. We can verify that the source, it's coming from some XYZ's blog source, or genuinely the guy who's reporting a set of data. I can go and look him up everywhere as his social profile. Is he a genuine guy? He is somebody who we trust, somebody who the society has given a prominence to, that he's publishing that data. It could be a journalist. It could be a Joe blog down the road working for a corporate. The concept of gadgeted officers, digital gadgeting of officers by billions of people, trusting billions of people. So it's digital gadgeting, but we are taking our own decisions. Third part is, it's very simple. I don't know Pratik. I know that Pratik has written something which has got shared and I am believing it. People who don't know Pratik will go and Google Pratik, and your profile and your work and your background will come. Then there is a trust-based consent, an invisible trust-based consent. I am giving Pratik's profile. That's also digital literacy. Those are the basic key instruments we have to get ourselves involved in and get around it.
Interesting. And so from what it sounds, right, each one of us really needs to be literate around, what we are consuming, what we are sharing. And pretty much the model that you mentioned is the exact pandemic, right? So one to many and from many to many, and then just keeps escalating and impacting. Right now, we are at 2.5 million people impacted. So, in terms of data literacy, I think each one of us has to play an equal role to be able to consume it. So from some bit of a negative.
I have one question. You are an educationist.
Sure.
You're running organization which is doing so well in the country. You're part of many universities. I, from a mentor, technologist, leader, industrialist, I can have a view. But from an educationist, and you're a very retro, plus you're a very uber cool educationist, what will be your three advices you have for all generations, all age group on data literacy? Because my POV will be very different, but I want to hear you as well.
Sure. So my personal belief is that at the moment, all of us need to get updated with the terms and conditions that we sign on to. So we see a lot of people giving, I agree pretty easily today, and they don't care about how much information they're really sharing with these platforms, right? So I just go quickly and sign up on Instagram, and then people don't really understand that they're giving their life photographs. Rather, they're giving photographs for life as a copyright to Instagram, right? So Instagram has the right to use it. And so another great example was Facebook has now started, going and looking at your off Facebook activity as well. So you could go to your settings and look at off Facebook activity. So if you have a Facebook app downloaded, they're pretty much tracking you everywhere. And so are the kids who are 16, 15, 17, 25, 40, 60-year-olds, now we have maximum number of people who are 60 plus who are using Facebook. Are they aware about all of these things? So that's my number one, which is read those up. It's something which is basic. If you can't read those tiny, just go on YouTube and look at a small video around it, right? So that's something which is very important. The second is the Data Privacy Act of Government of India, right? Which is what do we really own and what are we authenticating? So people take this lightly of Xeroxing Aadhaar cards, and we've seen multiple cases of Aadhaar and your privacy
We
numbers.
talk about data privacy, but I think data privacy is linked to data literacy. Extremely important.
Exactly. So I think the second most important thing as somebody from education would be to run a module on data literacy, right? Which is each one of our young people who's getting into the job market or who's getting educated should know about this. It's your right. It's basically, the Facebook's last result said every individual is worth $125. So you guys don't even know. Uh, Today, Pratik Gandhi is worth $125 a year to Facebook. And do they pay you anything?
And then quantify that with 3 billion Facebook users.
Exactly. And so, we're basically looking at ourselves as a product now, and Facebook is selling us. So are young people really aware about this? So that's something which is my take number two. And my take number three is to be very, very adaptive in the data world, right? We are moving at a speed which pretty much hasn't been seen for almost centuries now. And with this pandemic, the adoption of technology, the adoption of online world has just been 10x. So what I would have assumed would have happened in 2013, we are seeing those in 2020, right? So the concepts of work from home, the concepts of online education, the concepts of online degrees, no need to travel in 2020. So a lot of industries, a lot of careers, a lot of jobs, a lot of your skills need to be adaptive to the present scenarios. And I think my three things from a data literacy is learn about different tools, and there are a hell lot of them available free of cost. Just don't say I use Excel and that's about my life, right? You need to be adaptive in terms of what all can you use and how can you use this data.
Yeah. I think those are very important guidance. And I think, Pratik, what you should do is what I would advise you is एक ना basic data literacy. It's like sex education. It was a taboo. Nobody wanted to touch that subject. Basic data literacy and basic data privacy के ऊपर we should create a set of content and publicly let it be on the internet. Because what will happen, forget the business part of it. I think it's our moral duty as citizens of the country, which is becoming a superpower in whatever God knows way, when after the pandemic, go through all of this crisis, economic meltdown, but we will. But the basic, with 1 billion people using smartphones, 55 million terabytes of data usage, यार हमारे देश में एक तो कोई डॉक्यूमेंट फ्री में होना चाहिए कि everybody in their own native language can read it. So I think you and I'll give you my guidance and support, but I think you should do this, yeah, because everybody is going to help you on this.
Done, Dada. So that's the next project that we are going to initiate with your mentorship, is to make some content available, something like a data literacy.io, and make that just free resource for everybody to just go and
trolled by Google, let it get trolled by Bing, so that it is available. What is it? Because we know it, we know the importance of it, but the Joe Block down the road living 30 kilometers inside Trichy, using a Xiaomi 4A and continuously consuming content, अरे वो बंदे को मालूम भी नहीं है people are sniffing his data.
All right. That's Dada. So that's something that we should be doing. And I think moving on the similar thought process, right? While we are talking of what is data literacy and how do we make sure that how do you see these plan out in the real world, right? So moving to the commercial aspect. So all of these companies are now looking at data, looking at how to monetize data. How are you guys at Tata, or based on your experiences of building the geo network for the country, or your SAP experience of managing global softwares, how are now data being used in various departments, right from audits to the financial transactions to other departments?
See, data was always getting used. Whether you every business runs a P&L, data is the bare minimum necessity for the usage.
Mm-hmm.
But earlier, it was only the headache of a financial department, the CFO and the CEO, To optimize cost, use exhaustive amount of data mining. To make exhaustive profitability, make exhaustive use of data mining. Create a different operating model, create a different business model, use data, mine the data, build the data, and put a budget accordingly. Not a cost budget. Cost budget is hygiene, but a performance budget, a marketing budget, a sales budget. Always was there. Now it's turned around upside down. Now the logistics team, now supply chain team, manufacturing teams, program governance teams, marketing teams, out of homes teams in marketing, agency teams in marketing, and digital performance marketing teams, and campaign teams, operation teams, customer service teams are mining the data first, are predicting the data first, creating data models, some using advanced tools, some still using spreadsheets. But काम चल रहा है, उल्टा हो गया. And now telling the finance and accounts teams, I have optimized so much. I'm targeting so much. Now, the onus is on the user, business users. Across the group of all our group companies are doing this. I'm following our industry conglomerates, many of us who are our peers working for various conglomerates of India. They're also observing the same thing. They're saying the guy down the road who does delivery of a product to a guy down the road in the plant line of a manufacturing system, to the guy on the call center in the KPO, BPO teams, are giving me more data insights and data models than it was used to be top down, now it's bottom up. And what is leading to that is a far more fine thread decision making where the business should pivot, where the business should move. A lot of people are calling it as part of the transformation process as well. But the observation is it has gone from the heads of state to the business users.
Interesting. And so, Tata, can you throw some light on real applications of data? So, as we have a lot of 17-year-olds, right? So, they use Uber, they use all these apps, and from a business case perspective, right? When you manage Tata Click and people used to come and shop, how do you use this to make sense, and how do you use this to really make optimizations of business processes and innovation?
Of course, I'll give you two stories. One story is a very popular story. He was leading at that point in time Flipkart's head of engineering. His name is Saurav Chandra. Saurav is right now the CTO for Amazon, India, and many other countries. Again, a dear friend, a big academician. Saurav मेरे को बोल रहा था, first big billion day sales of Flipkart, you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Failed? Yeah. Massive failure, right? Outages. After so much of first big billion day was a failure. It was an eye-opener, Pratik, for every internet entity of India. They failed, but Amazon woke up, Google woke up, Tata Group woke up, Reliance Group woke up. कि यार अगर Flipkart fail कर सकता है big billion day करके, we have to see what they are also doing. Why did it fail? Exhaustive amount of campaigns, offers, and deals. Over, and I recall Saurav saying, I might not have the exact figure, but I recall Saurav saying, कि दादा over 100,000 concurrent users per minute had logged in to avail that. Like 100,000 concurrent users per minute, Pratik, is not a matter of joke. Transaction per second in banking, also not 100,000. Now think of that into per seconds. Like 10 lakh people logging in and clicking add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. So कोई भी system was not ready. India could not see this sort of thing. So many add to carts were simple language में itne 100,000 add to carts were written that it choked the middleware and the database. और अगर कार्ट एंड डेटाबेस चोक हो जाता है, साइट फ्रीज कर जाता है, एप्स फ्रीज कर जाता है. So next year, again, under Saurav it became successful. He created a different engineering. Earlier क्या करता था? Used to have millions of inventory, 10 million inventory requests normally throughout the day. Abhi, during that phase, that first 20-30 minutes of Big Billion Day sale, 12 o'clock, when 500,000, a million people will log in, 2 million people will log in. This is real story. He cut off the order management system completely. So what happened was, and I learned it as well, what happened was, inventory was there for 10 crore products, offers were there for about a 30, 40, 50 lakh inventory, और हमें बार-बार inventory pinging जरूरत नहीं था. We would only take orders and have a simple customer experience to check out. So add to cart, क्या करता था? Over 100,000 it used to go and ping the order management system. उसको कट कर दिया. सिर्फ ऑर्डर लेंगे, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 concurrent users can be there. See, this is pure data. And then came the world where China gave India an insight. How are they doing the great shopping frenzy day? X crore transactions on one day, right? Chinese and Jack Ma figured out, one of my idols on engineering also, they figured out that if you have millions of people logging into a system, what do you need? You actually need 2 or 3 processes to work, not 10, 20 click-throughs and processes. Then came the world of caching. Then you cache the data. So once you learn what is the threshold where your systems will break, अगर तुझे पता चल गया ना कि मेरा सिस्टम टूट जाएगा इतना थ्रेशोल्ड पे, then you can put contingencies. But to that, you need to know your data. So that we implemented in Click as well when Click did our first 10-10 shopping frenzy day. Worked again, first 10-15 minutes choke hua tha, but we recovered.
Got it.
And it's part of internet. When you might be noticing, Amazon Prime and Netflix is facing serious streaming issues across the country. Everybody is at home. Petabytes they were not used to. Gigabytes, terabytes a day they were used to of streaming. Everybody is watching Netflix and Amazon, right? Hotstar created a beautiful way, which they learned. See, Hotstar has millions of people. 25 million people logged in to see Hotstar in India, New Zealand semi-final. Hotstar broadcasted to 30, 40, 50 million people. But they cached the whole thing in the CDN, in the content distribution network. So decisions play on when you know data. कि अगर लग रहा है कि मैं इंडिया पाकिस्तान ब्रॉडकास्ट करूंगा, I'll have 100 million people logging into Hotstar. It's a far bigger deal than watching Netflix and Amazon. So Hotstar's cracked it. So now you see everybody sitting at home, and I think what they're doing is they are spawning out newer. Now they know the data threshold. The X million petabytes of streaming, about 500 million Indians are doing. I have to spawn out so many data clusters, so many instances, so that no single user face too much of streaming. It completely based on database decisions, every one of them.
So Tata, it's interesting to hear from the back-end structures, right? Which is from a database management kind of initiative where how do we manage the large user bases? But from a literal perspective, how does these cross-departmental knowledge banks work, right? So when a user comes in and generally flows through the entire structure of operations, delivering the product, why certain products are shown to me, right? So what is so there is surely an algorithm which is built, which is showing me certain, and these are all database. So if you could just share, certain interesting insights from a user perspective.
So you're talking about primarily personalization and recommendation. We're
Yep.
primarily talking about personalization. Again, nothing is without data. Personalization is what? Personalization is you are viewing X, Y, Z. But what is important is your intent is getting captured. So algorithms are learning your device behavior, your app behavior, and continuously mining in real time. If you like, say, suppose I like Casio watches or I like G-Shock watches because I'm a sportsman. Now, if I continuously browse, explore Casio and G-Shock, I shouldn't be given recommendations, ideally, on HMT or steel watches or leather band watches. So the platforms have to first know my behavioral pattern कि ये बंदा कितनी बार यही प्रोडक्ट पे क्लिक करता है, बाहर जाके देखता है, यही प्रोडक्ट्स के रिव्यूज पढ़ते हैं, and the algo keeps consuming the intent. Once the algo keeps consuming the intent, then he can only go to the database and pick up what is based on his behavioral pattern. That's primarily the internet's definition of personalization and recommendation. And of course, predictive nature, so that when you log back in again, your browse history, your purchase history, your payment affinities, your offer affinities, your deal affinities, your category affinities, your product type affinities all get merged with a scoring, with a weightage, and then showcased based on your future predicted browser or app behavior or your thumb behavior.
Wow. Uh, so this is interesting. So I'll further deep one more time, Shavik, into your experiences. So, assuming my app पे कोई scroll कर रहा हूँ, and so I see these preferences keep coming based on what you just said, right? So if I'm looking at certain kind of content or I'm looking at certain kind of material, shopping material, मुझे वो हर जगह दिखता है. What really happens at the back end of this, right? So as you said, right, you store this data, but then how does this really come in such a quick time, right? So I could literally go to the next website and I see the same product, and so I just want people to get this through, which is how are this so synchronized in terms of cross departmental efficiencies, which never used to happen, a decade back.
So you know what? You discussed literacy, TNC. Your browser behavior, or it's primarily browser, because app to app behavior is a little tough. Browser may, whenever you're browsing anything in Google, in Facebook, in Bing, all sorts, Internet Explorer, wherever, and you actually give the consent for the cookie to be downloaded. When you visit that site, you accept cookies.
Yeah.
I am example, I sell clothes or I sell electronics. You have given me consent, so I am legally correct. I have legally got your consent. Now, if I have got your legal consent, I can keep that cookie planted on your own browser. Now, when I say your own browser, it is Pratik Gandhi plus a billion people's browsers, independent browsers on their independent 3-4 machines or 2 machines. So मुझे एक स्कल कैंडी का हेडफोन पसंद है. I love it. Browsing across. एक साइड में जाके I allowed that cookie. He is tracking me. So मैं Google में जाके भी अगर कुछ हेडफोन ढूंढ रहा हूँ, वही मेरे को आ रहा है. मैं फ्लाइट्स ढूंढ रहा हूँ, I am getting skull candy recommendations. Because it is not the companies. I have allowed it to happen. Unknowingly. So it's very important. If you switch off, you clear your cookies, you'll stop. You clear your cache, you'll stop getting rid of it. And the cookies have got very different models. Some are 28 days, some are infinite. So infinite ones also we allow.
Wow. So this is scary. And so what kind of, so further digging into this, a lot of these tools are now available, right? So we understood a bit of the application space. What are the tools and what applications, for example, based on your experiences with other companies as well, क्या tools use करते हैं और वो कहाँ apply होता है? So people, get interested with Python, with R, all of these jargons, and they sound technical for most people, right? Like, अरे मेरे को coding करना पड़ेगा. But in real life today, we have moved in a space where you could pretty much do entire data engineering without even learning to code. And so,
can I just digress for a minute?
Sure.
I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Okay.
He is not 5 yet. He's becoming 5. They are starting to be taught code in school, and their coding is not coding. Their coding is widgets, icons, smileys. You create an animation. It's absolutely important because the world we are moving into is a technology. Technology is going to be like having a milk or having a coffee. It's going to be part of our day-to-day life. So the next generation who doesn't understand logical coding will not survive. Everybody, including us, whoever didn't understand coding, and coding is not physical code. It's objects. It's drag and drop. So there are a zillion things you can do with. Divide the problems of what you want to do into 3 parts. Language of code is for programmers, software engineers, digital engineers. Tools to get your data objective right are different than programming languages to get your data objective right. 2 different worlds altogether. Let's not mix it. The third part is in your professions when you are working. Enterprise applications, which is business user friendly. Example, the world of DoubleClick, SaaS, Tableau, Power Builder. You have to be brave to go and start using it. I can write it down. Anybody with logic sense and a basic education will learn it in 7 days. Literally 7 days, 3 hours a day. It's as simple as these business applications are. Because nobody is physically asking you to coding in Python. That's not your job. You have a job, you're a marketer, you need to know your data, you need to understand how to slice and dice the data, how to segment the data, how to make projective models out of the data. You don't need to mine and code and data engineer it. That's a separate world. A big world, but a separate world. So this ambiguity and cloud people are having, what is a language and what is a tool and what is an application? Spend some time in reading than WhatsApp universities. I might tell everyone, thoda padhai karo. Thoda ek book padho. Because it's all defined in a very simple layman English. What is a coding language? What are libraries of coding language for data science? Whether it's R, Python,
R.
old world. I'm thinking of old world, which is getting used. It's still JSPs, still Corba objects. I mean, back in the day, we have used C++ exhaustively for reporting. Today's people don't need to code. They've got libraries built in. They do drag and drops. So that's a different world. When you create data models, a business user creating data model and a data scientist creating data models are 2 different things. A data scientist needs to be a data engineer a little bit of a full stack developer, and a lot of a logical thinker. A lot of a thinker. He has to be 60% thinker, 20% he has to be a rudimentary software engineer, very rudimentary. And 20% he has to have a graphic sense of visualization. Data aayega, but the thinking part is more in data science. Because on data models, every data model in the world, data science people we build is not successful because it's not adopted. It's not accurate. They junk it. So the experimentation part in the workbench of a data science platform is the most time spend which is valuable to the data scientist. Now, a data scientist plays a role in today's day and age to every department. And you have a data scientist kind of in every department now. So they are a horizontal drip feeding people to every department. So in every department, you have a data scientist. So finance accounts, logistics, supply chain, manufacturing, unka khud ka data science team hai. The central team is only deploying them because they need the models to be created. Abhi, how many cars are coming out and what is the production efficiency? If I can't give a predictive data model, so I can't forecast sales. सेल्स कैसे फोरकास्ट करूं? मेरे को अगर प्रोडक्शन का कैपेबिलिटी नहीं मालूम है 6 महीने में कितना निकलेगा. So reading a little bit is important. Understanding what is a language, what is a tool, what is an enterprise, and then what is data science? Data science is a reiterating and summarizing just for education, youngsters' purposes. Decent amount of rudimentary software engineering, decent amount of visualization, and a lot of thinking, a lot of playing around and experimenting with a lot of junk data, making it meaningful. Simplified.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dada. That was really clear. I have a lot of questions that I got while we were ready.
Lots of. I mean, I'll let you moderate. I wouldn't be able to answer all of them anyway. So you.
No. So I'm going to ask the one which was the top favorite, right? So somebody who has built geo network. So very few people know that you were instrumental in building the entire geo network for the country. So now that goes on record. The new Facebook deal, people are just worried of what really is. So is it really a trade deal of our data and how we are going to be exploited? So we hear this WhatsApp University, spreading these messages that, Facebook has just bought Indian consumers' data, and now you're going to see all these users being sold various stuff. Throw some light when you hear some stuff like this. What do you make out of this deal, and so that people understand and you can break data science into this through the example of Facebook Reliance deal?
Let me break the answer into two parts. I think at a situation where we are today, what Tata Group is doing, helping the country, and Mahindra Group is doing, Reliance. See, in this global economic meltdown, I think it's a fantastic news, to be honest. From a citizen of a country, forget everything else. From a citizen of a country who likes a new telecom network, who actually gives me a cost-optimized solution. And let's be honest, the man who built Reliance is Dhirubhai. He was a countryman first. See, Facebook already had done wonders using Geo and had got 225 million additional users of India. No company in the world, whether it's we have got great JVs with Zara, with Starbucks. Starbucks is a Tata company, right?
Yeah.
Something we are very proud of. There's Zara, it's unheard. Tesco, Star Bazaar, right? We have done that in Tata Group much before. But a social media giant, which is actually a data company, this is Facebook. Geo actually is, Mr. Mukesh Ambani is projecting that I want to be a data company, though I am a telecom company. In these trying times, I think it's fantastic, to be honest. I mean, what else can you want? A Kirana getting a WhatsApp commerce. WhatsApp is a Facebook company, right? For people who don't know. Instagram, Facebook company, for people who don't know. What's a beautiful advantage? The lower middle class, the people under fridges, the Kirana, where geo-commerce is being pivoted to be. If I can do WhatsApp commerce by a Kirana who sells bhindi, aloo, pyaz, tomato to my nearest neighborhood guy. And mind you, the Kiranas are they run the biggest loyalty platform. I never go to 100 Kiranas, neither do you, neither are our users. We always go to one Kirana, right? Ram ke paas jata hai, ya Sham ke paas jata hai, ya, I will go to XYZ. Well, hamara Kirana loyalty is very strong. Now 3 million kiranas, giving them technology, giving them customer adoption, giving them loyalty, and giving them complete simple ease of use and efficiency. यार किराने वाले हमारा डेटा लेके क्या करेंगे? और let's be brutally honest, the educated elite class of India doesn't read even the TNC. We project our study room and our bedroom 5 times a day in Instagram. We project every possible conversation on WhatsApp. That's a Facebook company. That company is also facing a Senate inquiry for Cambridge Analytica. हमने फेसबुक को गले से लगाया हुआ है एक तरफ और becoming a completely being a absolutely, I'm going to be brutally honest, we are the biggest hypocrites sometimes यार. हाँ, एक तरफ फेसबुक, इंस्टाग्राम और व्हाट्सएप के बिना जी नहीं सकते और अगर जियो का साइड अगर डील हो रहा है फॉर किराना, ओ फेसबुक एंड जियो आर गोइंग. अरे तुम्हारा जिंदगी चलाता है फेसबुक, इंस्टाग्राम और व्हाट्सएप, तुम क्या बड़ा बड़ा डायलॉग दे रहे हो?
Right.
What nonsense are you talking about?
So with this advent, right? So Government of India just launched and tabled a bill on, the localization of data, because there's a lot of fear around how our data is getting populated in international servers. Our governments don't have access in case of any wrongdoings. So they've put this, data protection bill, which is in line with the GDPR, also which most companies have to follow. So how do you think this regulatory framework is going to be an issue in trying to make India really the data center kind of stuff?
I think it's one of the best things India will see. I'll tell you why. I have just been, I'm a UK national and I have seen GDPR getting implemented very well. I think what India is calling it is after the Sri Krishna
recommendation
has come out. Correct. It is calling, what they are calling it is the PDPB bill. It's primarily personal data, which is your name, email address, phone number, and SPII, which is your advanced personal information, which is your bank account, PAN, Aadhaar, all of that. It's got all sorts of attributes. What it does is, today, you don't read the TNC. And you say, yes, accept. I download an app. I give my consent. So over here, it will be on your face. You have to give, there are two models. Before PDPB, it's an implicit consent. आज के दिन में कोई भी स्टॉक ब्रोकर मेरा डेटा बेच सकता है किसी को. There is no governance. आज के दिन में your telecom provider can sell the data to anybody. You will also know and you don't know. आज के दिन में आपका डेटा हर कॉल सेंटर एजेंट्स के पास है, and hence that beautiful Netflix series जमतारा. आज के दिन में वही हो रहा है. People who are conscious protect our data. Going forward, this will be, no Jamtara can happen, for sure. I'm simplifying it. I don't want to get into the implicit and explicit consent of a PDPB bill, which is being constructed by INVI and PwC. Simplifying it. What? Go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Whatever data I am going to use, whether in a shop or a kirana or a retail store or a bank or an online app, I need explicit consent. Multiple nudges. Sauvik, are you okay for me to use your data? Are you okay? Are you okay? And Sauvik also has one more right. I can go to a retailer, go to a merchant, go to a platform and say, delete my data. And they have to give you a proof. And you have to delete the data from 30 systems where your data resides. Not only CRM, from your internet systems, back-end systems, ERP, और उसके बाद आपको प्रूफ देना पड़ेगा कि I am XYZ company, Sauvik sir, हमने आपका डेटा डिलीट कर दिया है. मतलब प्रूफ दिखा मेरे को. Unnecessary hassle, I understand. Unless and until we do that, our data is all over the place. All over the place. Anybody and everybody has access to data. कभी कभार when I get the call, I tell you, very प्यार से मैं बोलता हूँ, सर आपको कहाँ से मेरा डेटा मिला? तो फर्स्ट 2 मिनट में ना मेरे को वो बोल देते हैं, sir, we have procured that data. And if it's a wonderful lady, I said, ma'am, can you please tell me, where did you get my number from? Oh, sir, our agency, our company got your data. Did you register on this site? Oh, yaar, मैं उस site में register किया, तेरे को कौन data दिया ने बोला?
Right.
Then I say, if you don't delete, I'm going to call the police. ऐसे प्यार से गाली देता हूँ.
Right.
What nonsense! This
Right.
all nonsense will stop with the implementation of PDPB, which I think, Pratik, is not going to happen in the near future. Country has to calm down. Country has to become a little. Country has to breathe. Economies have to come back. But extremely essential. But people over a period of time are becoming conscious.
Right, but Tata, I have a contrary view, right? And there are these studies which are going on, right? So there are a lot of these academic studies that say that in case we start restricting the global flow of data, all of these innovations will not happen, and that will have a negative impact on the economic growth.
Data, your and my data cannot go to a Singapore data center, cannot go to an American data center, cannot go to a Japan data center, whatever and whoever it is, whether it's AWS, Microsoft, or Google. It's Azure, AWS, or GCP. You cannot have my data outside the boundaries of India. You need the DCs here. We are investing, which is one of the reasons the DCs will require, and post-COVID, it will be paranoia, Pratik, of my own data going anywhere, my health data. It will be a mandatory for the union government to get these DCs up and running. Work is on. The government's technology team is doing wonders. Tata Group is doing wonders. TCS, Tata Coms are all part of this support mechanics. The data centers of India are critical to whatever data we do. Whatever our IPs cannot go outside India, our algos cannot go outside India, our data models cannot go outside India. And I think Azure, AWS, GC, Google, and all the ISPs are planning to do that in India. Some have already started.
Wow. And so
WhatsApp regulation, WhatsApp data and WhatsApp payments were paused because the data center wasn't there. Now it's work. So that they are not stopping, relentlessly working. And I think for innovation protection, IP protection, algo protection, data model protection, and personal data protection, more importantly, I don't want my data lying in a Singapore data center. Or gone are the days, because the hacking community is growing as well.
Right. And so, from the data protection, Dada, making the servers here, there are so many opportunities which is just opened up into India, right? Because now every company will have to man their data in the country, will have to process the data in the country, will have to build policies around it, will have to build innovations around this to get the cost down. So, as somebody who's seen everybody, and again, most of the viewers don't know, you've been an entrepreneur, exited 2 companies in the UK before you moved back to India. What is it that you see as growth and opportunity for young people looking at building careers and businesses with data as a backbone?
We will not be able to survive any career without data. We cannot have every career in the next, by 2030, people who are thinking right now, marketing, sales, operations, you need to know data. You need to know basics of how coding works. You will not stand out in the crowd. People who know this will go ahead. And what is more important, understand where your data moves. The whole giga profile. Pratik Gandhi has a profile in Shoppers Stop. Pratik Gandhi has a profile in Starbucks. Pratik Gandhi has a profile in Reliance Digital. Pratik Gandhi has a profile in Google Pay. Pratik Gandhi has a profile in Amazon. You have a giga profile, offline and online. You need to know where your data is moving. Primarily for your decision making, for your family's decision making, for your own understanding. And as a young aspirant, India is going to go through endless opportunities. This COVID has created so many opportunities for everyone, so many newer operating models. We have given enough gali to Zoom. But think of the guy, uske paas 2 million users the. He's on 200 million user base. Microsoft is pivoted thanks to Teams. So virtual conversation, communication to chhodi de. Newer models are being thought of. Apollo is doing a video consultation for a patient to a doctor. We are doing. Look at what Arogya Setu is doing. Self-assessment, contract tracing, newer innovations. Innovation comes when they say like necessity is the mother of all inventions. We are in a global crisis. All of us are innovating actually. I am actually not thought मेरे को COVID-19 कोरोना होगा कि नहीं. I thought कि मेरे को होगा, एक दो हफ्ते रहूंगा, निकल आऊंगा. Because 98% of the world is recovering. It's a normal flu. India is winning on immunity data. 140 करोड़ में 20,000 लोगों को हुआ है. 0.00001%.
Perfect.
है ना? Now you go into the road. होगा तेरे को कोरोना क्या है? You have got a decent healthy life. You will not get affected. डेंगू और चिकन भुनिया में ज्यादा लोग मरे हैं. Were we paranoid? हम बड़े हुए थे मलेरिया, टाइफॉइड, लेके, मीजल लेके, वाटर एंड एयरबोर्न डिजीजेस. भारत को क्या डर है यार? भारत is the immunity country of the planet.
Interesting. And
yeah, lockdown is important, very, very important, because flu also doesn't help.
Sure.
People with diabetes, people with respiratory problems, no life is more important. Nothing is important in the world more than having a good, healthy life. You know our emeritus chairman, Ratan Tata's thoughts. You can see him in the back. I think India will win this, hands down. Thoda issues honge, economy will go through a turmoil, 10 months, but our country's organizations are not laying people off.
Which is a huge difference from the US.
See, who bailed the countries out? How many million boxes of hydroxychloroquine has been shipped out? Because we can produce that on data. We know we can produce for ourselves. Hence, we can ship it out. Don't you think our country will get the support going forward in the UN Council? Of course they will. India is an unbelievable country, I have realized. India में ना सब ये जुगाड़ nation जो हमको बोलते हैं ना, we are proper IP builders. That jugaad is a very abusive word and very derogatory when it comes to us. But that's how we are.
So Dava, based on your experience of leading so many companies and currently in your position as CTO, what are the areas that you would really like youngsters to work on?
One question I want to answer, Yogesh. Hey Yogesh, we can't use VPN for IP. It is a temporary measure. You can do that for any other development purposes. But VPN say, I can't have my data sitting outside the country. They can change the IP and you can do that. But ethically, we should not be. Ethically, our data should be in our country.
So that I was just about to ask you, saying that based on your experiences and your current role, right? What are the opportunities that you're seeing for young people for as business cases, right? So you advise so many companies, you've invested in so many startups. What's your advice? What are the areas which people should go after right now? Dhanda kahan se banaye in this slowdown, in this COVID-19 period? What's your thoughts around that?
Don't stop your business. Figure out a way to communicate to. So let's break down the businesses. Manufacturing will work because where there is social distancing, where there is a lot less people. Have you noticed, based on data, I'll give you data. Any Uttarakhand, 2-digit numbers of COVID. Himachal Pradesh, 2-digit numbers of COVID. Goa, single-digit numbers of COVID. Mizoram, Manipur, Arunachal, single-digit numbers of COVID.
Yeah.
It's population density. So manufacturing in those areas, which is anyway outside the cities, will start. Chandigarh, 2-digit number in COVID. Manufacturing belt. Kashmir, 2-digit numbers in COVID. less populated. Pahad, plant lines, which is outside population density, manufacturing will happen. It probably will happen very soon. I don't know the date, but that is the data which is getting mined and dissected by the task force and the PMO. That is why 3rd of May, 4th of May, so people are saying certain things will relax. So business will start immediately.
From a business perspective, COVID is right, but I'm saying from a young 17 साल वाला जो पढ़ रहा है या जो 25 साल वाला young नौजवान है जिसकी नौकरी जाई है, तो वो क्या धंधा स्टार्ट कर सकता है या क्या बेसिस पे, if I have a family business, how do I use data? How do I make more informative decisions to make sure that I live through this period and make a successful business career?
There are absolutely endless opportunities in data. You have to first understand, this is an opportunity to figure out what you want to do in terms of business, to prepare a business plan and go ahead and launch your business. This is the opportunistic time when you're at home, figure out from data, what is the adoption of the next category, what is the adoption of the next product, where is the gap. That will happen. This is how you do it. Data science will pivot post-COVID, will pivot. Instant pivot will happen. Internet companies will pivot post-COVID because paranoia will be there. People will not go to restaurants together. People will not go to cinemas together till the vaccine comes. So next 12 months is an opportunity base for any business who had legacy, who wants to pivot. Remote delivery, logistics and supply chain is going to pivot like anything. Abilities and areas of warehousing will pivot because people will not go to stores. People will not go to malls. It will pivot. Has to, because psychologically, when I put a mask today and I go out to grocery, I'm not standing next to the guy comfortably who I used to stand, even if the other guy in front of me is paying the bill. So logistics, supply chain, warehousing, remote delivery, internet businesses, healthcare and horizontal industries, healthcare, logistics, supply chain, horizontal and vertical, and manufacturing of products and categories, which are your essentials, is pivot. You saw the kiranas have pivoted. Now you see the farmers will pivot. But farming community is not getting corona. Log hi nahi hai. They have got farmlands and they are scattered. They are by default social distancing for the time they have grown up.
Yeah.
Agriculture will pivot. And behind the base of all this pivoting will be data science and data engineering as the foundation platform of thinking, systems, and capabilities and frameworks.
Brilliant. So I think that's a great suggestion. So I think from a framework perspective, everybody just needs to know basic common sense and should be able to make basic analytical mindset to look at data and read those data. Something which is very close to my heart, Dada, was, can India really become the data capital, right? So I'm just going to read out certain statistics just for you, and then you could answer this.
I have some, and let's have a chat. Let's have the final chat is on that.
Now there's one more. A lot of kids are waiting to hear about jobs and education.
Shall we take that conversation before we go to India conversation?
Okay, sure. So let's first jump into the jobs and education. So people are worried about looking at the US, 28 million, 27 million job losses just in a month's closure. India does not have any statistics to go after. What do you tell people, going in this kind of era, trying to get a job or even retaining a job that you have? What skills do you need to build? What do you need to learn? What do you need to think? What are your thoughts?
You want me to be completely biased or unbiased about this question?
The idea is to have a candid conversation with Sauvik Banerjjee.
No, I want to be a little bit transparent and honest about this.
That's the way we want it to be.
I am observing that the Me Too mindset of India with the current millennial generation is starting to break. Finally, India is a herd mentality. ना एक बंदा करता है तो 10 करोड़ बंदा वही करता है. एक बंदा अमिताभ बच्चन की तरह बाल रखता है तो वो 10 बंदे उसकी तरह बाल. So this herd mentality in India is breaking, happening because of our millennial generation. It's not completely. We have a very opinionated, drive-driven millennial generation, but it is starting to happen, which gives me hope. The challenge is our generation is carrying the baggage of the generation before. The millennial wants to break free and be the data scientist in photography. Image, pixel ratio. Manaki, he wants to be a phenomenal data-driven photojournalist or data-driven photographer. His father and mother still thinks today you have to do engineering and become a doctor. And engineering, उसके बाद MBA करो, फिर US जाओ. Changing. But the thought has to be broken. You cannot listen. If India has to pivot, India's kids have to stop listening to their parents.
That's a strong message to your young ones.
I am, and I'm telling you, when it comes to education, not कि घर छोड़ के प्यार करके I go and run away and elope. No, on education.
Sure.
On education, choosing a stream, India's millennial generation has to say, I don't want to listen to you. Let me take the decision of my own life. And why did America become a superpower? Have you ever thought? 16 years of age, Europeans and Americans, the kids leave their families. I'm not saying it will happen to India, but that worked in their favor in their socio-economical strata, where they were independent at the age of 17, living in a paying guest, living in their own house, working in a petrol station, studying, and becoming an entrepreneur. It's a socio-political and economical thinking. I can't have my father funding me my master's and PhD. I cannot. India doesn't have a mandatory army system. India is spoon-feeding the millennials. The millennials are sick and tired, yaar. Don't tell me to become a doctor. I want to become a data scientist. First guidance to every youngster on your education. Your maturity at the age of +2 is the maturity of last generation's age of 23, 24. You choose what you want to be in life. Second, India is having 5 to 10 new industries. OTT. A filmmaker never thinks of releasing a movie in PVR. He thinks कि मेरा web series कैसे करूँ, क्या short film कैसे करूँ. Correct? Sports has data. Individual is now thinking, I want to be a data scientist in sports management. I want to be a data scientist for broking IPL deals. Data is everywhere. I'm only now talking about professions and new opportunities. Without data, you can't survive. That is my belief. Now, think of a new profession like content. Content creation on TikTok is making you millions. Content creation on YouTube. Running a singer is looking at YouTube data, understanding the data science of YouTube, and doing a cover. So there are micro role profiles and jobs which are opening up thanks to data on various platforms.
Sauvik, so this is like really high level, right? So I want to further break this down. So आज मैं I'm working in a corporate and I'm using Excel for doing my basic analytics and stuff. Or I am an auditor in a bank, or I am a bank receptionist. So think about basic common people roles, right? How do I start looking? And now people don't need me anymore because of this COVID situation. How would I transact? How do I retrain? What should I do to be relevant even tomorrow, because I'm still 25, 27. मैं क्या करूँ, या I'm just looking at education, मैं क्या करूँ so that I become relevant?
You become relevant when you use your tools and your experience and use it for something newish. Example, I am an admin assistant. I am damn good in Excel, but my data processing karta tha. Actually, I can write extremely nice macros, extremely intelligent macros. What is the formation of data model? Macros. If you are expert in PPT, building a PowerPoint presentation, you do phenomenal PowerPoint presentations, and that's all you do. यार मेरे को कोई post-COVID, when you're remotely, if you become a subject matter expertise of whatever you have done in life, and that will use it. So that, and I know Excel very well. I'm an admin assistant. I aspire to be a young data scientist. Use your instrument which you are good at and move forward using that instrument to contextualize becoming a young data scientist. I am a data processor. सारा दिन KPO में मैं data punch करता रहता हूँ for a bank. I lose my job or I don't enjoy it anymore. The basis of data engineering is data cleansing. If you're a data processor, I will give you a system and a tool, but your data processing process capabilities has a tool. But I need to be a data, because I'm a good data processor और मैं एक BPO में काम करता था, I am meaningless? Absolutely not. So our education, going back to our basic education in school, in college, will play the biggest part in context finding the newest jobs. And you will find it in the simplest of things. If you are a great writer on Word, entire Microsoft Office, if you know, so you're a champion. We will give you other tools, you will be pivoting. But the basic instrument, I think, you have to be a thinker. The difference between India not becoming a herd generation, you have to think. You have 10 odd, and I can write it down to you and you can publish it. There are 10 to 15 odd categories of new industries coming up, Pratik. Okay, uske liye you don't need to know and become a world-class techie. You only need to know Office, and you have to be a good communicator. But data, you have to know your data. वो नहीं पता ना, you will be lost soul. You will be absolutely irrelevant.
Got it. So Dada, we've got a lot of these questions, right? One of those specifically was, there's huge herd mentality in terms of engineering education and people doing 4 years, and then we have 78%. NASCOM says 78% are unemployable. And I think a lot of this is you've already mentioned, which is kids need to break out of this mold of engineering and then move into a smaller what they think they want to do.
But I'm saying you do engineering. Electrical engineering karna. The country needs so many electrical engineers. The country needs so many mechanical engineers. Pratik, you have no idea. We are short of mechanical engineers, civil engineers. The real estate giants, they don't have civil engineers. Every civil engineer, software engineer ban gaya hai.
Right.
Nonsense. Who will build our roads? Who will build our houses? सब कोई software engineer बन चुका है.
So again, coming back to the entire structure of, for specifically for kids, what would you recommend they build as basic necessary tools if they are graduating this year? So अगर आज मेरे को टाटा में employment करना है, and again, I'm not going to hold you accountable for employability. I'm just saying if I have to get employed at Tata, which is my dream job, what skills would Sauvik Banerjjee as CTO look at?
I look at logical thinking. I look at a positive attitude. I look at a good education. Even if you couldn't crack great results, I will look at you you're having an optimistic attitude. You need to have a great, strong setup. Ghar baith ke you can learn Office 365. Without that, we don't survive. Great tools, advanced tools, I will not even mention right now. R, Python, SAS, Click, forget it. That I can teach you in a month. I can get you trained up in a month if you like what you're doing. I also need to know that you want to be a subject matter expert. कि मेरे को फेसबुक का स्पॉन्सर डिजिटल मार्केटिंग में सब्जेक्ट मैटर एक्सपर्ट बनना है. I want to be a Google AdWord professional. I want to be a payments professional. I want to build a product like Google Pay, Phone Pay, Amazon Pay. I have to be a product thinker because world is built on products. I also have to have a exhaustive obsession about data. होना ही पड़ेगा. And उसको पता नहीं है whether he will like it or not that he is obsessed about data. We will figure it out. We are very good in figuring that sort of people out. But he has to be very analytical thinking, logical thinker. उसका data driven thinking होना चाहिए.
Interesting.
And that has been the pattern actually in TCS, Tata Steel, all our group companies, Tata Digital. That's been a pattern of the group has honored every offer they shelled out pre-COVID. Not a single one of them we have retracted across all our group companies. And so has Mahindra done, so has Reliance done, so has everyone done. I think it's a tremendous commitment to the country's youngsters. Because we will go through the 10x worse more than 2008, 2009. But because of our country's ability and attitude of the conglomerates and companies, we will not let us go into the Great Depression. That's why innovation is coming into play. So those attributes will be more and more hawk-eyedly looked at.
Interesting.
Somebody having a phenomenal education always helps. But somebody having a phenomenal education and having the aspiration to go to Valley, please don't come and apply to me and my group companies. I've got enough people sitting out in the Valley.
So I was just about to give you that data. So a McKinsey report of 2019 just stated that there'll be 3 to 4 million graduates in analytics and data professionals which will be required over the next decade. But this was pre-COVID, and suddenly the world has become digitized. And so again, from a person, as I said, we have a lot of people who are working professionals who joined this live session, and we've got a lot of their questions.
I don't know how many people have joined. I can't see anything. I can only see comments.
We would send that across. So I think both of us can't see, and I would relay the numbers to you. But how do we ensure that they are able to build this analytics? So if I today am doing a job in the bank or I'm an auditor in a bank, how do I start building the analytics skill sets or building tools for my for my job or for my growth in the next phase?
See, if you're doing a mundane job in a bank or a government employee, what do you have access to? You have access to a computer, you have access to Office 365, and you have access to the internet. So any capabilities on data, if you are working on, use the instruments of algorithm macro building, use the instruments of linkages, use mathematical basic computation on correlation, use mathematical basic capabilities on building some predictive data, forget data models. And then there's a lot of open source forums and videos and documents where you can learn the basics and hygiene of data science. So data science has 2-3 parts: data engineering, data enabling, and of course data modeling. These 3 key makes data science. So if you're in a bank and you have an access to an internet, have access to Office 365, have access to primary set of tools, logically start writing what is an algorithm. Google one evening. Then you open up your Excel, write a simple algo. Number 2, what is a data model? How can I join 2 algorithms and create 2 macros and join them? Basics. You will do it in 3 hours after dinner if you sit in front of the computer. Then make multiple ones. Your life should revolve around samples of data. Lots of sample data available on the internet. Pick up sample data, create basic algos, basic data models using spreadsheet to start. Then look into using freeware, tools of slicing, dicing, creating segmentation, creating a sense of objects. That comes later. But that guy, as soon as this habit starts, will start getting excited with the opportunity he himself can do. It's like moving Lego pieces and creating a Lego, but through his own thinking, own mindset, own implementation.
Interesting.
And
So,
then, if he's done that, then you can bring in Python in his life, you can bring in Tableau in his life. Then he can take on anything. Then he should go and do a course straight away if he enjoys that.
great. So I think, Dada, we are at 1.5 hours. So I'm just going to ask everybody to just hold on for 10, 15 minutes. So we're going to have certain questions. And one of the most important topics, as I said, which is very close to my heart, and we're just going to quickly wrap through that, which is, can India really become the data capital, right? Which is, so you've heard all of these announcements that, Apple is trying to pump in $10 billion with China data companies. Oracle is trying to build a lot with China. And so with post-COVID, do you think all of these movements is possible of money, information? Can we become the knowledge bank of the world in terms of data processing? How will this really play out in the next 2 years, 3 years?
I would like to say yes.
And why so?
The reason why. Take us back to the origin of our conversation. We are a 140 crore country having given access to data usage to over 100 crore people. Every country's brain, so we are literally 1/5 of the planet. The planet is 7.7 billion right now. We are 1.4 billion. I checked on Worldometer last night what is the population. I think international countries coming to India was always there. Google had set up, Facebook had set up, Microsoft had set up long way back. Amazon had set up. Johnson & Johnson had set up. So enterprise community has always been in India. The data usage from government, so we have an Aadhaar. We also have on the other side a social media data. We also have on the other side, our banking is in our own hands. So data generated exhaustive. Secondly, we discussed about keeping the data in our country. That is going to happen. We discussed about having data centers and physical infrastructure in the country. That is happening and will stagger, but will complete and ongoingly happen. That will not make us the data capital of the world. Storage and consumption and usage of data will not make us the data capital of the world. Intelligence built on that, intelligence built on 140 crore people and impacting and mining the data, creating data science in mass to impact lives. Today, you see an example. Today we can do hot red zone, green zone, yellow zone. That's why we are able to come out of red zones, and some red zones are becoming decontainment. What do you call it apart from data? Physically, जाके तो हम एक बंदे को बोल रहे हैं. It is completely based on data that the task force and the PM. This is the power. In a large population density driven country, you will influence and impact lives with data and large data science capabilities.
How do we export this, Tata? So, it's so with the Setu app, right? And with so much of, TCS and the Infosys and being the knowledge bank and processing, building softwares, we've done that, right? How do we become the knowledge bank for maybe transporting algorithms, maybe transporting processes? So how does this really come in, and how do we young people play a role in really making India the center of this?
I think not young people, you as well. What you are doing with education of creating a data science, it's awareness also. India is bad in selling themselves. Indians within Indians are extremely bad in marketing themselves. We are amazing in becoming cerebral and becoming professors and having a very humble and gratitudinal life. India is champions of those values. But yeah, India can't be zero in marketing and self-marketing yourselves. Yeah. India is minus in that.
True.
India is minus in that. India, within India, there are states which are minus in that. Not everybody is Kerala. Not everybody is Maharashtra and Mumbai or Delhi who are gregarious and calling it out and saying, this is what we have done. Bombay was always like that. Kerala, Tamil Nadu was always like that. But India has got 30 states here. India has 140 crore people. Madhya Pradesh, when do we ever think and hear that innovations are coming out of Madhya Pradesh? Jabalpur is doing right, left, and center innovations. University of Jabalpur. When do we hear Mizoram and Manipur se innovation aa raha hai? Bar ke innovation ho raha hai wahan pe. Data algos are getting created everywhere. We are bigger than Western Europe. 1/5 of the planet. Second to China. We do not talk about our achievements. The amount of this self-pity world of India is not going to survive. We have to be aggressiveness. If we are built something, we should be proud. No? A little bit of Virat Kohli is not bad in India. A little bit, not the full Virat Kohli. A little bit of Virat Kohli is required in every Indian, to be honest. That self-pride to say, I can ship out an algo in 5 minutes. Actually, I can, I'm doing it. I never say it. I will take a beautiful picture on Instagram and share it, but I will never make my algorithm public.
So just to add, it's interesting. So a lot of academic studies say that Indians by general masses are very good with math and stat, right? So we were born as a binary country. So
all amazing. By default, then the whole planet has 140 crores.
Exactly. So we were much smarter in terms of mathematical structure.
Indian, right?
Exactly. And so technically we have all the bandwidth and the technical base and such a young population who could adapt to new technologies to be able to export these systems and algorithms. But do you think companies like Tata's or Reliance's can take the forefront and become the not just manpower consulting kind of or software agencies? Can we really get into the high level work of exporting intelligence to work on data or exporting?
India has been a service-driven country. We sold FTs to US and Europe, right? Hence, the world of TCS. TCS is world number 3. Building applications with people for everybody and anybody in the world. Then Infosys, Wipro, Accenture, everyone. India is becoming a product nation. India needed to be a product nation. Tech product nation. Pharma product nation. Manufacturing product. India's exports were starting before COVID. Economic could have been topsy-turvy, but the paradigm was shifting and becoming a product nation. India se Zoho nikla hai.
Right.
India se Ola nikla hai. India se, now we are saying that a Flipkart and a Tata Click has also come out. Not only Amazon. India se First Direct is also come out.
Oyo has also come out.
Oyo has come out. So India, I think we are at the nascent stage of becoming a product country. Give it 10 years. US took 30, 40 years. We have championed services which US couldn't. High-end services, yes, but mass services, India has championed. Now India will champion product. As soon as everywhere, India, you see everywhere, the services in technology, in large manufacturing, pharma is good. Products are taking over. So I think this is a transition. We're in the journey early years, but I'm hopeful.
Perfect. And so I think with this, we will just close and have last couple of questions. So I'm just going to put all of these questions together. So a lot of the students' question, I'm just going to jump this together. Thilokesh, Meet, Bhavita, Nafiz, Akib, and Yogesh. All of them have asked specific questions with respect to opportunities, with respect to the salary levels. If somebody pursues this as a career, is it economically viable? Do you think it is going to grow further in
Why,
terms
why
of?
don't you answer what's the salary level of a normal software engineer coming out of an IIT and a data scientist coming out of an NIIT or Pune, COEP Pune or whichever college, a data scientist coming out and a software engineer coming out. What is your observation? I don't know because I recruit. I want you to say.
Sure. So I think the average job of a computer engineer is going to be 15 to 18,000 a month. If you're lucky to be amongst the MNCs, it'll be 25 to 30,000. Starting vis-a-vis, if you are a basic uh, basic business intelligent guy who knows the basics, right, you should be able to top it at 40 to 45,000.
3x more, maybe 4x.
So so most of these questions, and do you think this will further sustain? My personal opinion is it'll in fact grow much bigger with this.
It is going to spiral and go beyond control to the extent it is going to get criticized. That why are data scientists getting much more than any other profession in the country? It's going to become a conversational topic in 5 years. In the next 3 years, it's going to explode. Next year, it's going to go ballistic after COVID.
Perfect. And so one more question, Sauvik, was how do you think design plays a role in data science? Number one, and number two, I would rather flip that question. Who can really pursue data science? So is there like a background or a scoreboard saying मेरे को ये आना ही चाहिए, then I can do it? Oh, I'm an arts background, I'm into entertainment, I'm into commerce, I'm a BCom. Who can really pursue data science?
Anybody. Everybody. There's a dear friend of mine in UK. Her name is Nilanjana Chatterjee.
Mm-hmm.
She is a mother of one, a dear wife to a dear friend of mine. She picked up data science at the age of mid-30s, and her world revolves around data science, and she's become a champion in Cognizant. And she'll grow more and more. Anybody at any age can pick up data science.
And do you need a background for picking that up?
You need an appetite for statistics and mathematics. If you have been a shit student of maths, you'll get better in maths pursuing data science.
Okay, great. So if I can conclude, anybody from any stream could be design thinker, could be an arts major, could be a philosophical major. In fact, they would make great data scientists because they would learn a lot more about human attributes and help in design thinking of the entire website and the processes and stuff.
Everything. Forget online. Offline requires data science. Data scientists much more.
Brilliant. And so final question from a lot of working professionals. So they've asked, great to see an industry leader collaborating with academia. How do you see regulation and compliance in India catching up as it becomes the data capital? So Gautam has asked this question along with Mighty, who has asked, what are the skills required to become digital strategist in data science? So that is more specific, but if you could answer Gautam's topic.
Second one, because second one is a very long answer.
Right.
How do you become a digital strategist in data science? First, you have to know your data science. Then you have to be part of a strategy group as part of the consulting forum or in a domain. Then you actually use data. No strategy is beyond data science as of today. I can't put any strategy beyond the data model. I can't put any target operating model without data. And the science behind the data is the process. So I will park that question. That has been solved by McKinsey and BCG again and again. The first one is important. Industry coming to academia, is it important for regulatory purposes? See, industry has to go by regulation, whether it's banking, financial services, retail, telecom, internet. So financial services, we continuously have to go by. Industry, academia continuously has to go by best practices. Never they were meeting, apart from doing guest lectures. They had to meet because they bring in the government's regulation and compliances default, Academia gives you best practices. The marriage is organic. You will see a lot more of what Pratik you are doing. It's a phenomenal model. You will see a lot more your model getting replicated. There is no other way out. How can you do anything on data without regulation, compliance, and best practices? It's hygiene, right? We spoke about data literacy, data privacy, regulation, framework. So this marriage, I can't bring a regulator from a government on a education. I have to get an executor and an implementer of that policy, an experience of implementing that policy and for years, for days, for weeks, to then marry that as part of the education best practices. Hence, I think it's going to be imperative and a mandate for every newer initiative in this parlance when it happens.
And the final question before we close it up, we've stretched 10 minutes beyond the time. So how do you see the regulation and compliance in India catching up, as you know, from a governmental perspective as well for companies as it tries to become more and more data centric and data capital of the world?
It is slow, because India is large, fragmented, states rule their own territories. It is slow, but certain decisions have been taken by the union government, state governments. Um, Aspirations are very high. That's much I can say. Whoever in the government I speak to, leadership, aspirations are very high. They're putting the frameworks in place. Execution and with due diligence takes time. Any anything pan India, believe me, takes time. It will take its own time, but it's going to happen for sure. I can't say it will happen in 2021. I can say for sure it will happen fair amount by 2025.
Brilliant. So that is positive note. Sauvik, final comments from you before we close this. Final comments for everybody in the audience, and what's your thoughts?
Firstly, thank you, Pratik. We speak sporadically, but it's a pleasure, firstly, to speak to you because what you are doing after being in US and Europe for bulk of your life and bringing and contributing back to the roots is the reason why I love you so much as an elder brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tata.
And what you're doing is impacting lives. Um, it's not easy to play with the sensitive, beautiful brains of our millennial generation. One wrong guidance can take them astray. One wrong recommendation. So our generation, needs to own a lot more. And you know, I'm always with students and startups and X, Y, Z. I wish we were a lot more in our generation who could be from anywhere in the world and come back to help our youngsters, our millennials. I don't want money. India's got enough money. India will borrow, beg, borrow, not steal, beg, borrow, and generate their own wealth. I need your brains. The brain drain has happened enough. I need the brain gain back. वहां पे बैठ के कर यार, बट हम मेरे बच्चों, हमारे बच्चों को, भारत के बच्चों को थोड़ा guidance दे, gives them knowledge, impart. And to my youngsters, to my millennial generation, don't worry, you are a champ bunch. Just keep your head straight.
Great. So that's a lot of optimism, Dada. I'm going to close it with a philosophical statement, right? So in 1980s, Japan set the standard, for manufacturing with TQM, total quality management. In early 2000s, China took the place by low-cost labor. We got a chance in India to build the software capital of the world. Truly, I believe that with almost 70% of young brains, which are mathematically wired, if we get a common census together and we start using applications of our knowledge and just think one step at a time, we truly would have an explosion of algorithms, of high-end, high-value work for the global society, not just India. We would be able to serve world through pharmaceutical innovations, through healthcare, through technology, through knowledge processes. And we would really be the champions of 2030, 2040s. So that's my own belief systems of coming back. And it was a pleasure, Dada, to have you speak to these young guys. We will keep doing this much often, I promise. For all the viewers, every Saturday, similar time, we plan to do one or the other speakers.
You know that I've stopped doing public speaking
Right.
um, for various reasons, but this I thoroughly enjoyed after a long time.
Perfect. So we hope everybody enjoyed it. Do share your feedback at the end of this session. And as I said, every Saturday, SDBI plans to bring one of the speakers and keep doing this in various other industries. So last week we had somebody from Hotstar. Next week we are supposed to have one of the directors from Dentsu Ages. And so we keep doing this every Saturday to ensure that people in the COVID breakdown are also able to get certain knowledge bank and optimism. So with that, thank you, Dada. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.